Okay, it is Tuesday, November 9th, and as you can sure see behind me, I am no longer up in Canada. So what the heck has been going on? Basically, on October 26th, I finished the trail. I reached Meat Cove, hiked a few more miles, camped out on that point, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning just about got blown off said point. So I didn't get much sleep that night. Woke up the next morning, I had relocated to some trees, hiked out of there. I was thinking about doing a longer loop, but the weather was just going crazy. You could tell the sea was angry, as one of the locals told me. So I hiked back to Meat Cove. I ended up staying for a few hours in the welcome center there. One of the locals was nice enough to let me in. And then I got a ride from some other locals down the hill to St. Margaret. And if you're wondering why I'm looking funny directions with this video, I'm currently using my Apple Watch as a remote trigger here. So if you catch me going like that, that would be why. So the original plan when I came out of Meat Cove was I had somebody coming to meet me, and they were going to meet me at a hostel. We were going to stay there, leave the next day. I try and avoid hostel racks. You guys know I don't enjoy that. So I was going to camp outside and then just use their shower and laundry. But after being up all night in the wind and with how bad the storm was blowing in, I decided to get a hotel. So while most things in St. Margaret and that kind of Cabot Trail area were closed, there was one hotel that was open. And Dennis, Trail Angel Extraordinaire, helped me out, and I was able to get a room there, get a shower, relax, and have a much more pleasant night than the previous night. Then, of course, I was at St. Margaret's, which is about 300 miles away from Halifax, where I was flying in. Fortunately, an amazing individual named Jan drove all the way from basically Western Nova Scotia to pick me up and drove me 300 miles to Halifax. We got a COVID test, which I needed a few days later. And then she actually drove me out to the area where she lived at Annapolis Royale. There was another thru hiker there who was nice enough to let me stay with him. He also worked at a brewery, so he was nice enough to give me some beer, which was well appreciated. And that was just kind of a really nice way to finish this off. Those who were saying, oh, I wish there was like a line of people waiting to clap for me when I got up to Meat Cove, you'll be happy to hear that the guy actually arranged when I walked into the brewery, everybody to clap. So I got that moment. I was actually very, very fortunate. I got all sorts of offers. I think I had literally 3 or 4 people that were willing to come down and get me and give me a ride either part of the way or all of the way. And that was just a really awesome thing. That's one of the things I've liked from doing these videos is I've met people that I never would have otherwise. So after hanging out in Annapolis Royale for a few days and mostly sitting around, eating, and having the occasional beer, on October 31st, I flew out of Canada. And if you want to talk about culture shock, there's 2 things that I'm having a lot of trouble with. The first are grocery stores, because I haven't been in those very often. And just the array of selections kind of is a shock to me. I'm used to the smaller stores. You know, Dollar General, it's like, okay, you got 1, maybe 2 types of tortillas, not like a whole wall. The other was the crowds. Going into the airport, I was there early, but still being jammed inside of an airplane with, 100 some other people. Yeah, that's a bit of an adjustment after you've been out in the woods for 10 months, or hell, depending how you count it, gap the PCT. The last 2 years, I've been hiking with a 3-month break in the middle. So I flew from Halifax to Colorado Springs. My parents live out here in Canyon City, and I've been staying with them for the last week or so. As you can see, I'm a bit cleaner here. I got a little bit of a trim. I was getting tired of my beard zipping up in my jacket again. And other than that, I have mostly, honestly, just been sitting around working on compiling notes, processing pictures, stuff like that, and not getting up to a whole lot. It is interesting because I have been through this process before. Last year when I came off the PCT, I came to see my parents here also. They hold my Jeep while I'm on the trail. When they saw me last time, I had just finished the PCT, about the same amount of time had finished, and I could barely walk. I was limping painfully anytime I would go anywhere around the house. And that was with a 2,600 mile and 5-month hike. This time I was out for 5,000 miles, 302 days, twice as long. I can walk fine. I'm tired. I'm still waiting. I'm going to get a Lyme test and some blood tests once I'm back, because I have felt like I've been unusually fatigued for the last 2 months on trail. And post-trail depression doesn't really account for that. So I'm going to get checked there. But other than that, I'm not nearly as beat up as I was after the PCT. And I've been trying to figure out, is it the fact that I finished on like gentler sections in Nova Scotia? But there, I mean, I was on roads that beat your feet up, or just the fact that I've been hiking more. It's something interesting. I'm going to see how the blood tests come back, and I'll have more on that, kind of comparing my experiences after the 2 hikes. Outside of that, hiker hunger. That is one of those misunderstood things, because if you've backpacked for, a week or 2 here or there, trust me, you have not experienced hiker hunger. It hits like crazy after, 500 plus miles. Jen didn't get hers until she'd done like 1,000. That goes away pretty quick for me. The first couple of days I was ravenous and eating a bunch, and then I pretty much have to retrain myself that, okay, I don't need a giant portion, I just need something small. Of course, that is made harder by the fact all the things that I wasn't able to get while I was on trail that were so rare, coffee, bagel sandwiches, just stuff like that, I really want to eat. And of course, my parents are incredibly sweet and trying to give me everything I could possibly want, and I'm having to say, no, that's okay. Well, maybe a little. Last time when I came off the PCT, I knew I had 3 months till I would be out on a thru hike again. And so I was less worried about gaining weight and stuff like that. This time my goal is not to balloon up to 400 pounds because 6 months or so, the plan is to do the Continental Divide Trail. So I am actually here for another day or 2, and then I'm going to drive back to Southern California. That'll take me a couple of days. I will get to see Jen again after so very long. So we are both looking forward to that. And then, quite frankly, life gets rather complicated. I got rid of my apartment. We completely reshaped our lives to do this long trail thing. So when I'm back, we hop around from campgrounds and things like that. We have a conversion van, but it's very minimal as far as no shower, toilet, etc. So we start having to juggle vehicles and things like diving. It's one thing to dive and clean all your gear in a spare bathroom or something if you have an apartment or a house. When you have to clean it in a public campground and then dry it without exposing it to the sun, it's I'm both looking forward to getting back, and I'm somewhat dreading how exhausting all of that is going to be. I have been going basically full on prepping for that for the last few weeks of the hike. We had enough money people had gifted us that we were able to justify getting a new GoPro, and I believe I have some dive lights that I found that may work. So the plan is, once I'm back and I'm diving, I'm hoping to continue kind of the vlog videos with a slightly different flavor. They won't be every day, but the days I dive, I can kind of like show the approach, because we're in Laguna Beach, which is absolutely beautiful. Our diving environment is kelp forest. So like the diving part is really pretty. And then you have the fact that I'm waking up in the dark, going out to Laguna Beach, putting on sandy cold neoprene at like dark 30, going into the waves. And now when you dive off a boat, you basically fall off the boat and you're in the water. When you are diving on the beach, you have to break through the waves. If they're 1 to 2 foot waves, that's not a problem. In Southern California, we often have like 4 to 5 foot waves. That's what they are right now when I'm looking. And every now and then that means a big one will build up and come and smack you out of nowhere. So you're loaded with 90 pounds of gear and it knocks you over, slams you into the sand, drags you forward. So the good news is I'm hoping to have a GoPro attached to me now when I do that. I do have pictures and some video that you can dig into on like older dives, but honestly, I wasn't able to get that much. So I am really excited for that because I have really enjoyed doing these videos the past 10 months. Other than diving, the off season between now and the CDT is going to be rather busy. As I have mentioned elsewhere, I help with an all-volunteer wilderness course that'll be 10 weeks starting in January, and then a mountaineering course that runs for 3 weeks after that. In addition, anytime we have a holiday, since we don't have a place to stay, we usually have to leave town. That means Thanksgiving, we're going to go out to Utah and probably do some canyons. Spring break, we're looking at doing a longer touring kayak trip that should be really cool. Hopefully, because of course the problem is time is on Jen's schedule because she's teaching and money is always limited. I am going to be looking at options for making money. I still don't know about that. The offers I've had so far are ones that would impact other plans. You know, my old employers that want me back, it's like, that's great, but you get, once June comes around, I'm doing the CDT thing because I've got 2 of the 3 Triple Crown trails. I'm not stopping at this point, short of, massive medical misadventure. And also some of the other things, like I thought about working at REI. I like to talk, I like outdoor stuff, but seasonal work interferes with what time Jen has off work. And a few of them, it would cost me more to drive up to LA to do the job, in vehicle costs and gas costs, than I'd make. So it would actually be a net negative to do it. But we'll see. I'm still chatting with folks and just keeping my ear to the ground. It is funny, no matter what I do, there seems to be never enough time and never enough money. But once June comes around, that is when we have big plans once again. Before I started this whole big trail kick, I actually had done a dive trip to Komodo out of Bali, and it was amazing. Jen and I did it, and we won a return trip. That got delayed 2 years due to COVID. That is now scheduled for the early part of June as soon as Jen gets out of school. So our plan is she gets out of school, we go out, we do that, we get some amazing video diving, and so we can kind of like share that with family and friends more than last time. And then the moment we come back, we are going to drop our dive gear off, grab our packs, head for Glacier, and the plan is southbound Continental Divide from Glacier all the way across. And that I am really looking forward to. So people got really sick of me talking on the AT about how I was looking forward to getting into the more remote areas and the wide views. I mean, again, you rarely had views like this on the AT, short of a few balds and, Maine. I am intending to continue the videos in the same kind of style. It was an experiment this time. When I did the PCT, if you look on my website, I did write-ups for the entire PCT. That's how I spent the 3 months off trail after finishing. And it was fun, but it didn't capture kind of the immediacy. These videos, when I look back on them, since I made videos throughout the day and I tried to be honest about what my mental state was at the time, it feels like it's a lot more authentic and honest, and that got lost on the PCT. Because I can tell you I struggled in Washington, but now I kind of tend to smooth over and go, yeah, I struggled, but I made it. Those 5-day rainstorms were a pain, but it was fine. Versus when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh, this sucks. And you're just heads down trying to get through it. And I liked that I was able to capture that this time. It looks like I did 116 episodes and 28 and a half hours of content. So there you go. Anybody that wants me to write a book, you got a, season and a half DVD set sitting right there on YouTube. I may do some sort of like hour and a half, 2 hour edit just showing the story of the entire thing. I have seen those done online, and that seems kind of fun. I like thinking of things with kind of the story of how things were in this section versus this section. And hell, for me, I'm not going to sit there and watch 28 and a half hours. So we'll see. That's a project I'm going to work on as I have time. I also do like writing things, so stuff may show up on my website. Heck, who knows? You might get the 50 billionth hiker book about me walking from Key West to Canada. I also have a lot of plans for supplemental videos. If you remember earlier on, I did a couple of those talking about like some of the sections of the ECT. I still have some of those I need to finish up. It was always hard because of lack of internet, cell phone space, and power on the trail. But I am hoping to finish those as I have a better setup. This is an experiment. You might notice the camera is a little higher resolution. I'm actually using a tripod and a remote trigger. So this has been a little more complicated than my normal selfie mode. But I'm hoping once I'm back and I'm kind of like set up well to be able to get through all of those. And when I say supplemental videos, other than, okay, this is what this section of the trail was like, the all about XYZ section. We did track cost data, how much it costs to do the ECT, how much that compared with the PCT. We even did it by section. And also just what gear broke, what didn't, stuff like that I find interesting and feel may have some use for others or me looking back in posterity. Because I'm really interested. I went back and I was reading an article I wrote when I was leaving for the ECT on my website, talking about what I hope to do. And it's kind of neat revisiting that now that I did it. I spent all 12 months and I made it. I made every goal, basically. Yes, I didn't get to Quebec at Cap Gaspe, but I actually did an extra 100 miles past that distance by jumping over to PEI, Nova Scotia, and then going up to Meat Cove. And that's just mind-bogglingly awesome in a lot of ways. I remember when I finished the PCT, hardly being able to believe that I was actually a person who had done that, that was something I'd actually accomplished. And I am still kind of processing that whole thing at the moment. So, like I said, hopefully you're not going to see me disappear completely from videos. I am planning a mix of these kind of more planned out informational ones, and I am hoping to continue the vlog style around diving and some of these other trips. Otherwise, tune back in early to mid-June when hopefully I will have the CDT episodes coming out, and I'm going to try and do exactly the same thing, release them as quickly as I can, and just try and keep everybody updated, because one of the things that really surprised Jen in particular, she wasn't really sold on the videos. You could tell that in the beginning, obviously, when she was choking on camera and all that. But she was blown away by the notes we got from people about how much they were affected, how much they enjoyed following along in the adventure. And we now have friends in a bunch of places that I never would have run into them, much less gotten to know them this well. And that's really made this a much more full experience than if I just tossed my phone away and been out there just heads down. I get plenty of time in the wilderness, I will say, as far as the vlog style videos, if you have any burning suggestions on how I should do them differently, now would be the time to let me know, so I don't end up doing the entire CDT and then realizing, oh, why didn't I change that? I really kind of just started these off the cuff. I was, walking down the street in Key West, recording myself and editing them together in the most straightforward manner on my phone. That worked really, really well for me. It was less work than writing. It was more immediate than journaling. And I felt like it really, captured the experience a lot better.